I'm Texas forever.
All these drugs just make me anxious. Look, I'm just tryna f you, not them hoes you came with. Pull up on 6 low, loud and banging. Yeah, Texas forever, still twisting my fingers. Texas forever, you speaking my language. Look, all in the day, but Wednesday. Out in the field trying to score me a deal. Put my name by that X like I'm Kimbe. I do it off of my team, just a young covered in green like I'm Dende. We ain't compadres, comprende. Clutch city, crush city, whatever you call it. I stay with my friends, stay hands in, never hand out. Look, I had to go get it, my everybody say I'm the man now. Wrist moving in and out the kitchen, my might pull up on 6 in the whip, whipping it. I'm just a young getting it. All I had was the pot I was pissing in. Now everybody want pieces, percentages. I'm just trying to get my niggas over. I did the work that they won't. All this money, cash, cars, clothes, hoes coming in fast, but I'm sipping slow. Since Texas forever, you already know. It's boy down there.
Texas forever.
All right, welcome in. I almost had that down right, still left the overlay on, but almost went off perfect without a hitch. But appreciate everybody for joining me on a Wednesday night. It is bye week, everybody. The Texans do not play this weekend, so no upcoming fantasy preview for week 6, but we will recap week 5 and what was the belt to ass whooping that the Texans put on Baltimore. I can't say that we didn't see the win coming, but in the fashion that it happened was very confident building, to say the least. But appreciate everybody who is in here. Good evening, Lee, trusty ear to the streets. If you didn't catch Lee's Power Hour last Friday, go check that out. It's on the GWN network, the mothership of all of the channels and all the shows that happen here, weekly, daily, hourly. Sometimes we have those long watch parties, so you guys know what's up with that. But yeah, check that out on Fridays with our ear to the streets, talking about the Chargers and their state of affairs. Hot start and cooled off over the last couple of weeks, but I'll let Lee handle that. Opposite of where the Texans are at this point heading into the bye week. What's up, Kamish? Hey, what's going on, man? Appreciate you for joining us. King D. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the GMM network, of course. Yes, everybody dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3. Dominate. All right, and that's where we're at. In case you guys didn't know, there is a sale happening on neonpeacockmerch.com happening right now. $13.95 tees and 35% off everything else. Can't beat it. I would suggest taking a look at some of the hoodies, things of that nature, because 35% off of that you're looking at like a $30-something hoodie, depending on your style. But we got pullover fleeces, we got zips, we got some with pockets, some without, all that stuff, all the great woo-wops, all the jazz. So just go ahead and go over there, check it out. There's a design you like. You can find it in about 58 different styles. Usually I got to go back in there and curate. Just been super busy with work and video editing and taking videos down lately. It's been crazy. It's been crazy, but do appreciate everybody showing up and showing out. And if you get on over to neonpeacockmerch.com, type in your email address, it'll prompt you there. You can get all the updates when all the sales are happening. This one's going to be going on for quite a while, so take advantage, add some things to your cart, but make sure you do hit the finalize that purchase before I want to say like the 20th. That way you make sure you get everything that you want before Halloween. Sprint jet right, spider wide banana onto ready. That's right, Diamond Joe. He knows what's up. We in here for that football talk, baby. We are on bye, but that doesn't mean that we can't talk some good football. So I do got a lineup I'm going to go through, talk about all the goodness that was, but of course we're going to relate that to fantasy football and all of your burning questions about the Houston Texans. Don't get to use CJ Stroud, the #1 fantasy quarterback last week, might I add. Probably matchup dependent, and it didn't help that Baltimore couldn't do anything much on offense either. But yeah, great showing for CJ Stroud. I mean, you're supposed to beat down bad defenses when you're given the opportunity, and he's done that the last 2 weeks. So kudos to him and the Houston Texans, for kind of keeping their heads up and stuff. But talking about CJ Stroud, let's see if I can get into some sort of presenter mode that doesn't make me look dumb. That'll work. CJ Stroud passing last week, 23 of 27, 85% completion rate, 244 yards, 4 tugs. And then he had that nice long scamper. I don't know if you caught that one. Almost scored a rushing touchdown from pretty far away on a 3rd and 3 play, if I'm not mistaken. Broke that baby down the sideline, looking spry, looking like a young CJ Stroud, 18, 19-year-old. Funny, during the maybe a week or two ago, he was talking about how he feels that he's slow or he lost a step from when he was in high school or college, which is crazy. So turning 24, I think that's when they asked him about that, how he feels. I just thought that was kind of funny considering, he's only 24 years old, kind of saying that he's lost a step in his age, I guess, kind of hinting at that when he said it. I don't know if he's joking a lot with the media or he's just trying to lighten the mood, but that was kind of during the time period where they were on that losing streak as well. So some things can be taken out of context at times. I'm trying to see if I can find that run. Pretty sure you guys saw it. I don't have a clip right away from what I've seen saved on my bookmarks, but it's all good. It was impressive to say the least. Down the right sideline, showed a little bit of burst, and he did get to the pylon, but unfortunately stepped out of bounds. So that's what we were dealing with there. But yeah, AFC Offensive Player of the Week honors as well. First time that's happened for CJ Stroud, I think, since Tampa Bay game of 2023, maybe something like that, or maybe versus Buffalo last year. I'm not even sure. I don't even think he got a Player of the Week honor last year. So good for him. Looking good there. Let's see what the chat's saying. Praying Nico has big games ahead of him. Yeah. Some people are considering selling him. I don't see why. I feel like 50 yards and or a touchdown is like his bare minimum, even when the offense isn't doing anything. So this was promising, and this was more of like a blowout game. So they just kind of gave Nico his, and then I think felt like they needed to expand, get other players involved, kind of test out the offense a little bit. So, what? We got breaking news on an NFL trade? No way. Jags and Browns, Tyson Campbell for Greg Newsome. Is this true? Can we verify? Old man to be 24 years old, right, Lee? Jeez. What I would actually, peak age for me was like sometime between 27 and like 31. I feel like I was able to do a lot of things physically that I probably can't do anymore. But like that I couldn't do before when I was a younger man either. I don't think I'd grown into like that grown man strength. But I was weight training like crazy during that time in my life as well too. So it's a little bit different. But came across on Sleeper. Interesting. Yeah, Jaguars are trading Tyson Campbell to the Browns for Greg Newsome. There it is. Corner for corner, I guess. It's weird. I'm sure there's more to it there, some contract stuff. I don't know all the details on that. That's kind of weird. Yeah, very interesting. I just said that. Yeah, super weird. Petrie is the man. Welcome back, Petrie. We'll talk about Petrie in a second. But yeah, for your fantasy goodness, I hope you guys started Petrie last week. And if you cut him because of the bye week, it really sucks. Somebody's going to probably pick him up off waivers. I think I saw him go down somewhere in the league, but it might be it might have been like Papa Guru's league, and I think the defenders are you only need to carry like 1 or 2 IDP guys there. So, hey, what's up, Brandon? Nice to see you in here. They call the Ravens the Gok flock because they suck. I really got to read these before I post them on the screen, but that's hilarious. Yeah, they're not doing well. CJ Gardner-Johnson added to their practice squad. It's hilarious. Guy doesn't want to play for the Texans because they're 0-3. Locker room turmoil, dismay, dysfunction. Supposedly calling other players out about their contract situations. Just not gelling with them. Wants to get released, right? So that they do that, and then so he can go play for a contender or I don't know what. And then he ends up on the practice squad, at least for now anyway, of the Baltimore Ravens. So that's pretty funny. All right, here are the details. Browns are trading the number 2 overall pick and a 4th round pick, number 104, and a 6th round pick, 200 to the Jaguars. Jaguars are trading the number 5 overall pick. Okay, so there's plenty of pick swaps here. Pretty, okay. 2 for 5, I think is what I saw. 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick, 126, which was 100 to 126. So that's like 26 spots in the later rounds. and a 26 first-round pick to the Browns. This is interesting. There's a lot of pick swapping going on with these quarterbacks. I think they just threw these players in there just because. It was mostly for the picks. That's what I feel. Kenyon Green and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, both Ravens. Oh, they're. I had no idea Kenyon Green was on the Ravens. Who do you think won the trade? I mean, I don't know what we got in return. I can't even remember. I think it was like a swap of picks in most of these situations. We just got to send the players off, so I feel like we won. Once we got rid of C.J. Gardner-Johnson there, once the Texans did anyhow, out of the locker room, seems like Jalen Petrie shot to the moon. Mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, and he's had 3 picks in like the last 3 games, 2 last week. And so that this defense since the play calling has been also been given up by D'Amico. The defense is allowed to Matt Burke. Defense has been allowing 5 points per game. I guess it was the shutout versus Tennessee, and then the 10 points versus Baltimore. So that's kind of a hilarious stat as well, but it's true over the last 2 weeks. So, and I had no idea Kenyon Green was out there. Hilarious. I thought he was on somebody else's practice squad somewhere, the Eagles or something. But it's even funnier now, considering the fact that so and then he doesn't want to go play the Texans. Like he signs with Baltimore after the Texans whoop on them, which is kind of weird. But all that lip service, all that squawk, all that talk that he was putting in about playing for a contender and wanting to play more and whatever, and then nobody even around the league wants to pick him up. It's kind of crazy for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but it is what it is. Didn't work out. We have Jalen Petrie there. I think that's pretty good. Like he fits well. You see him making splash plays. So, yeah. Yep. Okay, where were we at? We're still talking about CJ a little bit. We did say that he was the offensive player of the week, and there he is on that run that we were talking about there, where he got down the sideline, moving a little fast to have like a super impose of, him making his way down the sideline, which I thought was pretty cool. Here's an interesting QB scramble rate, design run rate 2025 little deal here. H-Town Huddle is covering Jackson Dart, which is up there running all over the place. And we saw this is from Ian Hart. It's one of my favorite dudes on X. Pretty cool. He interacts quite a bit with his followers if he posts cool stuff. And I like to just, take a lot of these fun charts that he makes and pick out my players that, that I really like or that I'm talking about, typically the Texans and where they fit on these scales. But CJ Stroud, not necessarily a lot of design runs, but he has been scrambling a lot. And, in the Baker category, just behind Drake May, but scrambling quite a bit, probably because of the pressure. But then you see all the other guys who are pretty lame: Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, Joe Flacco, the statues of the league. But Jackson Dart, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts just running for their lives. But Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, a lot of design stuff, so that's cool. But I just thought that was a very interesting chart, considering people talk about CJ Stroud not necessarily being mobile. And I think that he's kind of, put out there that he wants to use his legs more. So QB scramble rate, there you go. What else with CJ? Yeah, let me see. 4 touchdowns. That was pretty interesting. Spread the ball around a little bit. We got 2 to Hutchinson, breakout game. I don't know. I told Dennis earlier in the season they liked him more as kind of like that number 2 on the field, even though Christian Kirk was there, popped up with that injury by the time draft season came around for fantasy. So he was an interesting pickup in some leagues. And then I think somebody just picked him up in the West Side or in another dynasty league that I was in recently. And I think that he's a good stash. He could be somebody that could be emerging. I know everybody wants to get hype on Higgins and Noel, who also caught a touchdown this game design. I think that the offense after this bye week is going to try to incorporate all these guys a little bit more. I'm a little concerned about some of the remarks that they made about remarks about Woody Marks, saying that, he's more of game flow type running back. And so in this situation, when they were up big, they were leaning on Nick Chubb. He's just a different style build of running back. So they kind of consider Woody Marks more of that pass catching guy. So we're probably back to, he's not the RB1 workhorse that everybody was spending hundreds of dollars a fab on. He's probably more of the lots of potential. So maybe like RJ Harvey, but better still. I think that the coaching staff realizes that he needs to be involved, and I think that the Texans aren't always going to have leads this big, so we're going to still see a heavy dose of Woody Marks, but it's probably going to lean a little bit more on the 50-50, and then if they're trailing, he'll probably go to that 60-40 type role, and then the opposite, if Chubb and the Texans are up to a bigger lead, then we'll probably see a little bit more Chubb and less Woody. Pause. What is the latest on Mixon? So Nick Caserio came out recently, said that sorry, but keep that up. Said that they will reevaluate him in another 3 or 4 weeks, but he's trending towards getting healthier and progressing. So I think that that's also more schedule based. The Texans have a difficult schedule coming up. We'll see if this bye week, if they take that into any consideration, right? And the media asks about Joe Mixon next week, right? So it's still wait and see, like Lee says, and that's basically what it has been up to this point. But it feels like if the Texans continue to win some games, that Nick Chubb will get a little healthier, and the chances of him returning will get bigger. So that's where we are with that. I know Caserio said some weird things if you look back at his press conference, particularly about Jaylin Noel and his touchdown celebration where he mimicked Ray Lewis. And I don't know if you guys caught that, but it was epic. Let's see if I can find that one. I think I have that one somewhere saved on Twitter. One sec. That's just looked really good. And then let's see. I thought I had it saved. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere. But yeah, Xavier Hutchinson really impressed though with the 2 touchdowns. Stroud was on the money with his passes. Chubb had that breakaway nearly 30-yard run, and it looked like he had some juice. So I mean, kudos to him as well. Finding a way to break one and score. Woody Marks was pretty close. He made defenses look kind of silly on some of his runs as well. One of them got called back, I believe, and then Stroud got upset with Woody for not chipping on a block on one of the pass pro plays as well. So that might have led to him not being out there as much. Who knows, right? I don't know. But trying to find that. I found the Stroud run. Yeah, that's cool. Let's put this up on the big screen just to watch real quick if I can. Is the sound off? Keep the sound down. I don't think there's any sound. Good. All right. But yeah, Stroud running's been interesting. Like I said, Mixon, probably if the team continues to win games, I feel like we got a little bit of buzz after this 2-week stretch, and all of a sudden he's trending in the right direction. I think if they come out and at least split the next 4 games, which is a little tough, I think they're opening up with Seattle after the bye on a late Monday night, so that's not really Texans' bag. They like the Sunday nooners, but do you think they could move Mixon possibly a deadline? Yeah, that's probably something that I feel like around that time they want to at least show him practicing or showcase him in a game before the deadline, right? But they mentioned 3 or 4 weeks, so I don't know how close that puts us to the NFL deadline, but that sounds interesting. I don't know. It's just weird. Maybe that's when they bring him back and they move Dameon Pierce, who they tried to maybe showcase late in garbage time and wasn't really effective this last game. I don't know. I feel like sitting on him is not great for unless he can, like, if he couldn't show out against the Ravens in his minimal time, I feel like that's not good for his stock and trying to move him, especially if they're not going to use him. Mixon, on the other hand, his whole foot thing, it's just like a weird situation. Just supposedly he's progressing and they'll reevaluate him soon. But I don't know when that is. But the cool thing about that is the O-line, running back rush yards before contact per carry and pressure rate allowed in 2025. So that's through 5 weeks. You look at the top left quadrant, that's the yikes. And, no surprise, you got guys like the Bengals out there and the Raiders allowing a shit ton of pressure because the offensive line. You trickle down a little bit and you have the Chargers right towards the middle of the thing there. But then you have better pass pro at the bottom left quadrant, better pass protection than run blocking. So you have Steelers who Aaron Rodgers back there just passing and the run blocking is probably minimal. And then, of course, towards the middle, you have teams that are a little more equal, a little more balanced. Upper right-hand corner is better run blocking than pass blocking. And then in the bottom right corner, you have some of the better O-lines as far as performance. And it's kind of weird to see the Texans have to like readjust your eyes. But there they are in that bottom right quadrant. So big question mark. Are they a better O-line? They've significantly improved every single week, allowing less and less pressures. And when you can run the football, obviously, against Tennessee and Baltimore, it really helps as well. So then they're able to play action pass and get the ball down the field, which, gives CJ Stroud time, to look really good out there. And so that's what ends up happening. Your pass blocking grades go up. Ed Ingram, who had returned from injury and kind of solidified that offensive line after it was shuffled around the first couple of weeks, he's been graded out as the best offensive lineman or guard, in football over the last 5 weeks by PFF. So take that as you will, but interesting stuff there. And I did see them, when Woody Marks was touching the ball last week, or when Chubb gets the ball, they're not getting hit behind the line of scrimmage and having to make stuff like the way Mixon did last season. I think that this unit and the offensive scheme, the play calling, and these guys picking it up, once that offensive line can mesh, and if it can hopefully stay healthy and really get things going, it was interesting to even see them use some of the backups. That you saw Fisher in there. They went like a jumbo package, so he just saw some different things. It's kind of interesting how the offense is starting to slowly evolve, kind of coming around on Caleb. Of course, the opposition was a little bit easy, but, or easier, not quite the test that some of these other teams were. But if you look at the teams that the Texans lost to by minimal points in the first few weeks, all those teams, I think combined record right now is like 11-4. So, creme de la creme, the top of the NFL, that the Texans, weren't able to squeak out those wins. Very close losses. 1 point loss to Tampa Bay, field goal or less to it was a 4-point game, I think, to Rams week 1. And then that abysmal game to the Jaguars where the Texans fumbled the ball away, and Nico Collins just trying to do a little too much there towards the end instead of just kind of going down, and they would eventually have gotten the field goal and won. But, anyway, a couple of plays from being this way or that way, and I think that we'd be looking at the entire Texans completely different, right? So I think that some of the things that people talked about with them is like the first 3 games 0-3, and then you see the point differential margin as -4. Yards per game margin, and then the ops win-loss record. And then these last 2 weeks, you take advantage. You beat up on the teams that are shitty, and you put them in the ground. And I like the Texans kept their foot on the throat there and really squashed the Titans, pitched a shutout, and then did the exact same thing and kind of revenge gamed the shit out of Baltimore. So I think that's a sign of some good, some good teams. I think the Texans, they got a little bit of swag back. They got their swagger back. The receivers were a little bit nasty. Jaylin Noel did the Ray Lewis touchdown silly, and then I forget who it was, but one of the DBs got pissed as hell, was trying to take the ball away from him, and they weren't having that, and and Hutch with his celly is doing the peekaboo, and he got 2 of them, and they were swagging all over the place. There's if you go on YouTube, you can check out Nico Collins mic'd up. Really, really fun. The Texans have like 100,000 handshakes, and they're just having a lot of fun out there and bonding, and they do a lot of that, and it was really cool to see that. It was really cool to see them put up a lot of points, and the offense kind of being hard and having swag and being confident. Not only the defense like it had been, the last 5 weeks, because the defense had been balling out. It's been showing out. So top of the top out there as far as that goes. As far as we're concerned, is defensive units. I think Broncos, Jaguars, surprisingly, and a couple other teams, but. If we're being honest, it's a team that's not being talked about defensively as much in the media. It's definitely the Houston Texans. Let me see. I meant to do a screen share a little bit earlier and show you guys some of the cool stuff that I was talking about here. And we'll give credit where credit's due. This is going to be courtesy of Nick Schwager.
For many years would never
volume up, which I did, but there it goes. And there's that little struggle right there, getting mad because,
touchdown ball, Jair.
But it's just funny to see that after the touchdown, he hit the Ray Lewis right
For
here.
many years
doing
would
his
never
thing.
have been
So, good stuff from Noel. I didn't know he had that in him. You know what I'm saying? So cool to see that. Here's the CJ Stroud near touchdown run, which I thought was pretty dope. Woody Marks does a good job up here, turning around and just blocking, and then getting the defender out of the way so CJ could get by him, just steps out of bounds. So really cool, though. Good stuff. Just wanted to show you guys some of those. Yeah, best player right now, I think, as far as splash play percentages go. We talked about the defense a little bit because we did talk about our offense. Sorry, I missed a comment over here. Deadline November 4th. Yeah, see, that's less than a month away. I don't know if we see Joe Mixon by then, if you can showcase him for a trade. It just seems really hard to do. You'd probably have to do something about moving Dameon Pierce and see if there's a lot of running back needy teams right now. I think you just keep everybody. I mean, if Joe Mixon can come back at some point, then you just activate him at some point later on down the road. I don't think who are you going to train him for? Or what do you need? You know, we have a bunch of receivers. Nobody's going to give us another running back in return. Not going to trade away a hurt running back for a good running back. And offensive linemen hardly ever get traded. There are some trade candidates I heard, floating around there, but the Texans, I don't think, would seriously push for any of the names that I heard out there. Like others said, running backs or bigger names. What they need is offensive linemen. That's clear. And maybe like a Mark Andrews, because he, or something like that. But honestly, I don't, and that's just in the back of my head, but I don't even see that happening. I wouldn't see the Ravens, letting an asset go like that to, another contender in the AFC. Well, the way the season has gone for the Ravens, they're not necessarily a contender this year, but we know that franchise is consistently really good and contending. So I wouldn't see them trading something like that over to Houston, but you never know, right? I just don't think that it would be wise. I think at this point, the way that the season has gone for running backs, you just keep as many running backs as you have on the roster. They have British Brooks, and they have another couple of dudes on the practice squad interchangeably that they activate here and there or whatever, special teams, and Dario Mawale, who's played himself out of basically starting, actually seeing him on the field, which is fine by me. It's just too many mistakes early in the season. So I think after this bye week, like I said, we'll see them come out a little bit more with the rookies, try to do that. And like I said, if we do trade somebody, why not somebody like Dameon Pierce, not Joe Mixon? I just think that it'd be really hard to do without showcasing that Joe Mixon is healthy first. And if Joe Mixon's healthy, then you just let him, play out what he owes you here and run hard for the Houston Texans and hopefully get into the playoffs and make a run. But yeah, and we're able to save Woody Marks or save Nick Chubb because it's a long season. That's I guess the advantage here of this early bye week. They get to kind of look back on these first 5 weeks, see what they really did wrong, see what they did these last 2 weeks. Hopefully it doesn't stop the momentum, but I think a chance to get everybody refreshed, not necessarily healthy again. I think mostly everybody had been pretty healthy for the Texans so far, except for Joe Mixon. So, not used to the early bye, to be honest. Typically, I think last year they came like week 14 or something crazy for the Texans. So that was a real long season, really tough stretch for them that time. And they're going to have a kind of tough stretch on the way back after the bye. Let's see if I can find the schedule. I think that I know they play Seattle, and then I forgot what the stretch was, but I know it's like San Francisco probably when they get back into Houston, and then Denver, and then Jacksonville. So Seattle has a 3-2 record. San Francisco's 4-1. Denver's 3-2, and then Jacksonville, of course, they beat Houston in Jacksonville. So Jacksonville's 4-1, just took out Kansas City. So tough little stretch, for the 2-3 Texans. The 4 games left versus 3 4-1 AFC squads because they do play obviously the Colts a couple of times, and but they do have the third best point differential, plus 47, because of these last 2 weeks, and their defense just completely locking it down. The highest graded defenses in the NFL, according to PFSN right now. Broncos 91, and that's their grade. Vikings 88.8, and then the Texans at 86.4. So I think the defense is special. Will Anderson's special. They're kind of starting to separate themselves now. They're allowing just 12.2 points per game. The next, like I said, in those top couple of teams that I mentioned would be Denver, and they're allowing 16.8. But then you look at how much the Texans defense has held other teams in reference to like what they average. The Rams average, like for instance, and we'll go down the schedule. Week 1, The Texans held the Rams to 14 points, but the Rams averaged 27.3 over the rest of the season. The Texans held the Bucks to 20. They averaged 28.8. Texans held the Jaguars to 17. Jaguars averaged 27.5. They held the Titans to 0. The Titans averaged 18.3. They held the Ravens to 10. Obviously, there's no Lamar Jackson, right? But the Ravens averaged 32.8 points per game. So they're cutting whatever the other team's average is in half, basically. So opponents are averaging 26.9 points per game versus everybody else, but only 12.2 versus Houston Texans. All those stats are courtesy of Houston Stressens. Follow at Texans Commentator on X. Yeah. Cool. Biggest things that concerns me about my team so far: consistency. We just got to see. This will be a good litmus test, obviously, versus Seattle coming off the bye. But my biggest concerns, I guess if I had to put them in order, still probably offensive line number one, see if they can gel, continue to have some consistency, cohesiveness like they have had over the last 2 weeks. And actually, as the season's progressed, they've dipped below 30% pressure rate the last 2 weeks, obviously. But the first couple of weeks, it was I think 40, then 38, 35, 32, and then it's dipped below, right? So consistently getting better, but still a worry. And then, of course, if there's an injury, I hope they don't just shuffle everybody around and it's complete panic mode like it has been in the past. I hope that there's depth and backups to replace that. And that way, we have stability up there for CJ Stroud. We know that if he can check, and a lot of that stuff also is him learning the offense. So if he can check and get these guys into the right protection, then that personnel can take care of business. I think that we'll be okay. So offensive line, still a concern. Just got to bring that up because I'm not completely sold that it's been completely fixed yet, but I'm surprised, honestly. Deontay Ursery, he's been doing well. Everybody was like, oh, you let go of one of the best tackles in football, and Laramie Tunsil, and then you're replacing him with a rookie and blah, blah, blah. But I put up a graphic last week about Deontay Ursery being one of the better graded rookies in week 4. And then here he is again in week 5 up there with some of the best of the best. I did want Gray Zabel drafted, but some of these guys they didn't move up to draft. The Texans kind of traded back at spots, and in this particular situation, I think Zabel was drafted beforehand. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. We're far removed from draft season, but Deontay Ursery still doing well in his role at starting left tackle. I think so. Getting out there, getting reps, doing okay, and not sabotaging the offensive line like Laramie Tunsil would have with his attitude and his penalties. So it is what it is there. But yeah, I went back to saying, they kind of turned things around and turned into question mark one of the better offensive lines, better pass pro than run blocking. Not necessarily. I think they're right in the middle of all that stuff, but they're ahead of the curve as far as the rest of the NFL goes in comparison, I guess. Some of that yikes categories, the Geno Smith and the Browns and the Bengals disasters out there. We do know that I don't know what's going on with the Green Bay's blocking. To see them all the way over there, Josh Jacobs and them. I guess they're coming back here from. They started off as one of the hotter teams in the league, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. So maybe this has something to do with that offensive line woes. But this graph here just showing that as far as pressure rate allowed versus, I have this other banner, so you guys can't see that. I'm sorry. Versus running back rush yards before contact per carry. So I know it's kind of geeky and nerdy, but when you graph this stuff out, it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. But yeah, O-line got hurt. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, appreciate you. Stay tuned live. Make sure you guys are checking them out on YouTube as well. Very entertaining stuff. Good stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to take down this overlay. There it is. All right, cool. Yeah, so I was talking about Deontay Ursery doing his thing. Pressure for rookie O-lineman, right? Lowest pressure rates allowed. And he's been on this list consistently here for a little bit, at least in the top 5 over the last 3 weeks. So I do like that. Rough start, rough go for the Texans O-line, shuffling things around over the first couple of weeks. But I think they're finding themselves a little bit, getting some footing. Everybody's getting a little bit more familiar with the offense and Nick Caley. I think that right? Everybody needs a good slump buster, right? You got the drunk fat friend was at the bar, easy slamming versus the Titans. And then, week 2 was you're the only dude at I don't know, at a sorority. It was just easy, right? So Bengals without Lamar Jackson and a plethora of defensive starters hurt. Texans take advantage. Put the foot on the throat and squash the bully. The Texans were, I believe, 0-8 and had never won in Baltimore. So first time for everything, breaking some barriers, some records, putting some stuff in the history books for the Houston Texans this last week. But Hutchinson, somebody to keep on your radar in deep leagues. Dalton Schultz doing his thing, actually, catching everything that's thrown at him. I know he's slow as shit, but if you're really hurting, he's not a bad bye week filler in your tight end position or in a double, triple flex league or whatever it is. I know we have some savage leagues that we play in where, you just need anybody and everybody who's available to throw into your lineup. So not a bad play, especially with the way that CJ's been playing. Of course, you're going to have to wait a week. Houston Texans are on bye this week. Now, Woody Marks, I did mention, you guys didn't catch that, probably game flow dependent. So if you see that the Texans are going to be in a situation where it's going to be a higher scoring game, an offense that where the Texans might be trailing, or the defense is kind of stout versus the run in particular, then it may be a Woody Marks game for you to go ahead and feel confident starting him in your flex. Otherwise, you'd probably be inclined to flex Nick Chubb in a matchup where you think the Houston Texans might be able to smash this upcoming week versus Seattle. In Seattle, I would imagine it's probably going to be a Woody Marks type flex game if you're going to flex one of them. It is kind of scary, though. I don't know if you have both of them. I'd probably try to choose. I wouldn't be trying to flex both of them. Or starting them as a solid RB2. I think I look at them both as kind of like fringe RB3 flexes, just because the timeshare. And then if Joe Mixon comes back, oh my gosh, I have no idea. Yeah, Kirk did kind of get going. It connected with Stroud on a long play reminiscent of the old Bill O'Brien days. If you are on X, let me see, I have a nice clip of a side-by-side of Deshaun Watson, dun, 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 throwing it to Will Fuller, and similar usage for Christian Kirk. So that's encouraging to say the least as far as that play goes. Is like a long setup play action where Christian Kirk was dragged down, I think, inside the 5. And then we got the Jaylin Noel touchdown. And then following that up with the Ray Lewis celebration. So, but yeah, Woody Marks, his I think like 7 carries or 7 attempts or whatever it was, and a couple of targets was a far cry from his 17 carry, 69-yard, 4 reception, 50-yard, 2 touchdown game where nobody started him a couple of weeks ago. So just a word of caution. It's probably going to be game flow dependent. I think that's what Nick Caserio came out and said, or maybe it was D'Amico. I'm not too sure. Didn't watch all the press conferences. Just kind of did a quick scan through of some sound bites and clips. Been super busy with work lately, and I just enjoyed the win. Also, just sat back and enjoyed the win. But another thing I did want to bring up about the Texans defense, though, Will Anderson, NFL splash play leader through week 5 at a 23.6%. The next person's not even close. It's Nick Bonito at 19.9, and then James Houston at 18.4. So like the gap between 1 Will Anderson and 2 Nick Bonito is bigger than the gap between 2 Nick Bonito and number 9 George Karlaftis at 17.3. So I should probably show that graph if I have it. Hold on. Sorry, I got it here somewhere. I think I do. Where'd it go? Dun, 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 there it is. So yeah, towards the top there, Will Anderson Jr., there's his splash play rate. It just means that he's out there in the backfield wreaking havoc, doing his thing. Nick Bonito in second, but there you see the percentage differential as far as that goes. So he's been out there making a name for himself, and these are all great, at least the top 12 or so, great names to consider for your IDP selections in the future if you guys are playing any of those, obviously. But yeah, the unfortunate demise of Woody this week. I know I put him in at least one lineup. Didn't hurt me. Ended up getting the win. Still worked out. But it's not the end of Woody Marks. Don't go rage dropping him or flat out benching him. I do think that he will be viable in 2 weeks versus Seattle, a team that is 3-2 and plays pretty well. It gets loud there, and if the defense has a little bit of trouble with either JSN or AJ Barner, the touchdown machine over there, who I completely overspent for in my home league because nobody even bid on him. I threw 11 fab on him. But anyways, I'm happy he's on my team. I might even flex him just because I put money on it. But anyway, Travion Henderson or AJ Barner in a tight end premium. I might even go Malik Washington because we get return yards, and he's just a lock for like 100 return yards. Anyway, we'll see how that one goes. I'm not here to ask you guys advice. It should be the other way around. But voila, we've made it to through basically everything that I wanted to discuss today, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I do have a couple more slides that were left. We talked about the splash play. We talked about the O-line. Talked about the difference over the first couple of games. CJ scrambling. Yeah, that was basically it. Just wanted to touch up on that. Jaylin Noel. Higgins, kind of quiet this game. Noel did his thing on the touchdown, at least got involved. Hutch, it was a Hutch takeover type game. It was kind of like a breakout. So good for him. First career touchdowns, got 2 in one game. So good for him. Noel, his first receiving one as well. So a couple of firsts for both of those Cyclones. Higgins has already gotten into the end zone, so I guess they weren't trying to be greedy about it. So, it's just good to see the offense going. And like I said, Nick Chubb looked really spry and young on that run. So kudos to him. I mean, you can't discredit him for getting into the end zone on that, taking opportunities away from Woody Marks. It would have been CJ, and then CJ Stroud throwing some goal line out routes and design plays underneath instead of the Texans being predictable and running, just running the ball, giving CJ Stroud the opportunity to really get up there and pump up his numbers for those 4 passing touchdowns. So I'm glad that they did that, once they got kind of inside the 10, inside the 5, instead of being extremely predictable. Nick Haley did a great job, I think, calling this game. And hopefully this is the one, or the one last week even was the one to get them really going and firing on all cylinders. But to go back to Kamish's question, I think it was the offensive line. The other one would be just coaching. Hopefully they wake up and they're able to get guys like Woody and these rookies that I'm talking about more involved after the bye week. I think it would be asinine to kind of just stick to the old ways or stick to players that you feel like you owe some sort of thing because you have like a personal connection or they're good locker room people or whatever it is. So we kind of saw that when they got rid of CJ Gardner-Johnson and just said, hey, you know what, this guy's not like really the vibe. So, I think that's the concern also. See if this coaching staff can do it. Also, can Nick Haley do this versus tough defenses or when he's not in a flow or when the Texans run game doesn't get going off the bat? Can they still find ways to find sparks and get the ball going either through the air or by being creative and finding other creative ways to run the football? I think we can catch the Colts. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I've seen the Texans go 0-3 before and almost go on a 9-game win streak, I think, and win the division. So it's still within the realm of possibilities. Like I said, the Colts look very good. I think that they're probably the team to beat, even though the Jacksonville Jaguars are also 4-1 and have already beaten the Texans. The Jaguars still feel super fugazi to me. It's never Lawrence. He fell down twice. Like the Chiefs fumbled or an interception away, like a clear, easy pick. Like they kind of gave that game away. Patrick Mahomes threw a pick 6. I mean, so that, and the same thing, very opportunistic defense. Not to take a lot away from the Jaguars, but I will take some away from Trevor Lawrence or Never Lawrence. So I think the Jags, fugazi. I think the Colts, probably the real deal, but the Texans have one of, if not the best defenses in the NFL. And I think that they scheme very well against divisional opponents. So if it wasn't for that Nico Collins late fumble in the fourth quarter versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were well on their way to either kicking a field goal or scoring a touchdown and winning that game. So I do think that weathering the storm there, the first couple of teams, like I said, those 4 teams, if you look at that graphic again, those 3 teams that they lost to in the first 3 weeks have a combined record of 11-4 right now. So tough teams, weren't no pushovers. And I know this last week, the 2-8 record of their opponents combined from these last 2 weeks is, nothing special. But at the same time, the Texans handled business handily. So competing closely with good teams, should be winning those games. I was really upset about that the first 3 weeks. I was saying good teams find ways to win. I think that this team is just still finding its footing, especially on the offensive end, trying to get some cohesiveness and consistency going. So I think they kind of found that and hit their stride. They got their swagger back now. We might see a little bit more of the old CJ Stroud. Wouldn't go like throwing him into my lineups on purpose, but they will have a cake matchup here or there down the line. But the schedule is pretty tough, at least for the next 3-4 weeks, and they get the Titans again after that. So, yeah, like Bogart said, he hopes that they smash Seattle on Monday night, which would be great. Get to see primetime CJ and everybody do their thing. Maybe another Petrie interception or something might help. If we can get the defense to score, can definitely win a close game. I think that's kind of been happening for other teams. They've been getting great special teams plays and things like that. So the Texans, the offense just wasn't able to take advantage. I think that now that they've found some ways to get the rookies involved and playing better players and keeping the worst players off, like Dario Gumbawale, who was like supposedly like he felt like RB2, RB1 for the first 3 weeks, which is crazy. Just get him off the field and let the other guys who have more skills take care of business. And then the Texans can take care of business. So what is even a Seahawk? Yeah, I saw a thing about it. The owner was trying to find a bird that sounded menacing, that still fit the area. So I think that they threw a bunch of different names and they were all kind of funky, and Seahawk sounded the best. So that's how that worked. I think I saw it just recently. It's the best way I could paraphrase that. Sorry. I thought birds only go out to the sea to die. Yeah. Or to look for land and die. I don't know how that works. I don't know much about birds, to be honest. But yeah, we do have that NFC West tour, right? You guys, the NFC West? Yeah. We will have the NFC West tour coming up here. So Seattle and San Francisco, and see how CJ does. He had a not so great opening week out there, homecoming in LA, but let's see how the rest of his West Coast trip goes out there on that side. So trying to think of some other things that I might have forgotten, but I think pretty much a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about I already covered. Nico Collins, the handshakes, the mic'd up session, go find that. Really fun watch. Good to see these kids having fun out there on offense and communicating, talking. You can see them really gelling right now, and it's the old Texans that I saw at least these last couple of weeks. So it feels good to kind of have that back and have something to root for. I was almost dead inside with an 0-3 start, but 2-3 heading into the bye week, like I mentioned last week, that was going to be a good vibe if they could pull it off, and they did. They took care of business. They did what they're supposed to do. Now they have 2 weeks to game plan for Sam Darnold, make him see ghosts, travel out there, do their thing, and I think they can pull that one off with tough defense and just some good play calling and some hard-nosed running. I think that they're going to try to commit to the run and then play action out of that, set up the run to give CJ some time later on, because Seattle does have a pretty good defense. So like I said, this might be more of a Woody Marks game after a slow half. I don't know what the over-under is. It's 2 weeks from now, so we still got a whole week of football to kind of sit back and watch and see if there's any injuries as well and things of that nature. But Christian Kirk, he might just be a couple of plays away as well, especially if this offense starts opening up. But at the same time, behind Nico Collins, a lot of mouths to feed. CJ Stroud spreading the ball around over these last 2 weeks as well. So is it a must win? They're all must wins. They're all must wins at this point. I think they need to get back to 3-3 before they can say, hey, whatever. But you just to feel better, kind of have the pressure off your back. But, I think at this point they're all must wins because you have 2 other teams in your division that are 4-1 right now. I'm old enough to remember when people thought the AFC South was like a pushover and all you needed was 9 wins to win the division and blah, blah, blah. That might have worked in the Deshaun Watson, Bill O'Brien days, but it's a different era in the AFC South right now. And it's being led by Danny Dumbass and Never Lawrence. So we'll see if CJ can overtake them. I think that the Texans defense is defense wins championships, and I think that's the pathway to do it. And with a defensive-minded head coach like that, all you need is an average offense, right? And I think if the Texans' offense can be average or better, which I think they've shown that they can do, then they're going to be in a good position. And as long as they do that, they don't have to worry about anybody else. They just go and beat the guy up in front of them. So they've been able to hold. They didn't let. I mean, Derrick Henry hasn't looked great, but Derrick Henry didn't do much versus the Texans this past week. There was a nasty hit. Tim Settle came in low. Somebody shed a block. Who was it? I can't remember who it was, but he pancaked the crap out of Henry. It was just a nasty, brutal hit. So, the swarm mentality, I think that lack of swarm on offense, that swag, I think it's back now. I definitely saw it with a mic'd up Nico Collins segment. It's about 8 minutes long. You guys go check that out. Nico Collins mic'd up versus Baltimore. Really fun watch. But yeah, it is what it is, man. 2-3 feels a lot better than 0-3, which it was a couple of weeks ago. I didn't have the power to go on. They were sucking the life out of me. Each week at work was getting longer and harder. So at least I feel decent about my tough job with a couple of wins under our belt. AFC South is one of the toughest divisions right now. Yeah, that is crazy. Don't you dare. Are you a Seahawks fan, AJ? What are you talking about? Don't you talk about the Seahawks that way? I don't know much about the Seahawks other than JSN's a monster, and AJ Barner's been scoring a lot of touchdowns, and then they have two running backs who can break a long play at any time. So it's going to be a tough test. I think the Texans are going to do their homework and probably watch that game, take a load off. They don't have to lick their wounds on this bye week, which is great, and just prepare for the opponent and feel mentally good, especially because coming out of that pretty much unscathed. Everybody's healthy. They're on a little bit of an uptick. They have 2 in a row, so they just got to keep in the flames, stay in the flames, like I say. They're heating up. Taking a liking to the Seahawks. Okay, well, then this weekend or next weekend on Monday night, or I guess it's not the weekend, next Monday night, we'll see how that goes down. All right, everybody. We've been rocking for just about an hour. Try to keep it short, typically within that period. Make sure if you are checking out stuff that's within an hour, do the Chargers Power Hour on Friday with Lee. We will be back tomorrow. I have another video job, so the guys are going to have to carry on without me once again. But we'll be back for another edition of Wake Your Game Up on Friday. Oh, that's Friday. I already have my days mixed up. Great. We will have a Thursday night watch party for y'all tomorrow, then kicking off week 6. Oh gosh, we're already here. Just a reminder, if you guys are like 0-5 in your fantasy leagues, do not give up. Keep making waiver moves, make a trade. If you have to, come hit me up. What are we doing with Chubb and Woody? They're, like I said, they are game flow dependent. Game flow dependent as far as what the coach says. Keep an eye out for any injuries during the week. If there's somebody pops up with a questionable tag, then I'd feel comfortable starting the other one. But for right now, they're RB3 flexes just because they eat into each other's time. With a Chubb, you're hoping for a touchdown. Woody gets reception, so you're hoping for a negative game script. Right? So tough. But we'll have more information as the weeks go along. Right now, there's still a hold. Don't drop Woody Marks. I would not drop Woody Marks or Chubb. I feel like people kind of did that here and there. And running backs are just the way that they're going out. You're going to need one or both at some point or another. So hold on to your Woody. Hold on to your Chubb. And I'll see you guys. Man, that's a good one. I'm going to keep that. All right. So that'll be the tagline for the next. I'll write that one down before I forget. Well, you know what? It's on the stream. Hold on to your Chubb. Hold on to your Woody. Here we go. That's how I'm going to start the next one. Great stuff. Can't believe we don't make fun of that backfield a little bit more. But anyway, you guys know what to do. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Make sure you're checking out the GWN. You're liking and subscribing. Make sure you head on over to meonpeacockmerch.com. Having that sale right now of $13.95 tees, 35% off everything else. Go to the collections, hit up the Halloween section. Got a lot of great stuff over there for you. I'm wearing my allegedly shirt right now. Make sure you get mugs, caps, 35% off. Browse the entire catalog because, those sales don't come by very often. So got a bunch of cool things like the survival of the healthiest design. You got your win this week or cry trying. You got the dude crying with the fantasy points all over the place. So, we have it all. If you guys need a design done, you want something put on a t-shirt, make sure you hit me up. I got my old alma mater, the UTPA Bronx. That shirt coming in the mail. So that way I can wear it to the UT RGV football games. And people will be like, where'd you get that? My son was wearing his purebred shirt to school today, and a kid asked where he could get one. So, tell your friends right now the shirt's $13.95, 35% off everything else. Make sure you're checking that stuff out. Liking, subscribing to the GWN, hitting up all your friends, watching all the shows, and rocking out with us throughout the entire fantasy football season and beyond, because we are here to help you guys win championships, answer your questions, and we're all in it to win it together, baby. Well, unless you're in a league with me, right? Then you're the ops. But I play nice. There's no crazy murking going on. Just in the digital world. So that being said, I will catch you guys next week. I am thinking about moving the show from Wednesday to possibly like a Saturday, because I'm usually beat on weekdays from work, just because of all the sitting and editing and answering phones and crazy things that I have to do most of the time. So be on the lookout for that. We'll let you know if it is coming over on the weekend pause. I'll set it up several days in advance. That way you can hit the notify bell and you'll catch it live on probably like a Saturday afternoon or something like that. So be on the lookout for a schedule change, just so I don't burn out on you all, and we can have a full fantasy season and a full Texans season, hopefully, and beyond, covering football. I just like talking about Houston, man. So good to have a couple of wins under our belt, baby. Here we go. So I will catch you guys next time. Just remember that you cannot spell peacock without peace.
Prime one with the slap.
Showing out when we show up. Pop champagne with my shoguns. Hella money is the motive. Own ship in the campaign slogan. We showing out when we show up. Pop champagne with my shoguns. Hella money is the motive. Own ship in the campaign slogan. Hella yay for sale. Hella yay for sale. I'ma take this winner's purse. Y'all gon' take this L. I'm in her purse. Yeah, the game's a bitch. Till the day I'm in the hearse, I'ma make this mail. I got a paper bag full of that, can't you tell? I was making paper stack while y'all was chasing tail. I'm a real maniac, I ain't afraid to kill. Shit's real when you married to the game, for real. I'm bout skrill, bout scratch, moving everything for chow mein and loud packs. Pharmaceuticals, yeah, the doable. Dumb racks got the bag going stupid up. Showing out when we show up. Pop champagne with my shoguns. Hella money is the motive. Own ship in the campaign slogan. We showing out when we show up. Pop champagne with my shoguns. Hella money is the motive. Own ship in the campaign slogan. Hella yay for sale, we campaign for real. I'm online like a nerd, but I ain't for real. I'm on the grind with the birds, Eve 8 and 12. Getting high, hella fly, how it made me feel. I live in a digital world. Prima donna fucking with material girls. I was just a mobster from the underworld. On my pocket shit, screaming fuck the world. You on your cop shit, handcuff your girl. Every time my palms itch, stack it up for real. We got work, no cubicle. Dumb racks got the bag going stupid up. Showing out when we show up. Pop champagne with my shoguns. Hella money is the motive. Own ship in the campaign slogan. We showing out when we show up. Pop champagne with my shoguns.